summer of 2021. That was over the voter suppression bill that the Republican Party was pushing. The redistricting process was delayed that year because the census data was delayed because of the pandemic. Census data was not received until August of 2021. And when quorum was restored, there was a special session where we took up several measures, including that voter suppression bill. It was a subsequent special session the governor called for the purposes of congressional redistricting. That was the earliest it could be done, congressional and state legislative redistricting and state board of education redistricting. That was the earliest it could be done because of the timing of the census data being received by Texas Legislative Council. I just want to correct that for the record. Okay, well, you can disagree, but that's what happened, Mr. Hunter.
That's why we're here. You believe one way and I don't.
All right. So let's talk about this map. So one goal of this map was to convert coalition districts into districts in which a single racial group would constitute a majority of voters. Is that right?
Hang on, Casper, the unfriendly ghost is muted. Chairman Hunter's microphone. There we go. All right.
You have to repeat it, Chris. I couldn't hear.
Okay. So one goal of this map that we have before us today was to convert coalition districts into districts in which a single racial group would constitute a majority of the voters, correct?
No, I don't agree with you.
You don't agree with that?
No.
You just had a conversation with Mr. Wilson.
I sure did, but he didn't use your terminology. Your terminology is not, to me, the same thing he was saying. You're trying to use the word coalition districts and all that. We talked about specific districts.
Okay, so let's talk about specific districts. All right, so for example, CD 18 was purposely altered so to be a black CVAP majority district rather than a 38.8% black CVAP district, right?
CD 18 was drawn to be a 50.81% CVAP, which is 11.82 change plus.
Okay, so that was the purpose of that change.
I don't know if that's the only purpose, but that's the effect.
Okay, and similarly, the proposed CD 35 was purposely changed to increase its Hispanic CVAP to be above 50%, correct? Yeah, I think that's one of the ones you alluded to.
51.57%, and it also has political performance involved in all of these.
But the Hispanic CVAP did increase to over 50%.
51.57.
All right. And so then in CD 30, the black CVAP was also purposely increased to be over 50%, correct?
CD 30, the 8C VAP is
just
24.
Black CVAP. Black CVAP.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, let's just do both, so everybody knows. 8C VAP is 24.93%. Black CVAP is 50.41%. Right. And in 2021, the black CVAP was 46%. And in 2021, the 8C VAP was 24.4%. So it went up in both.
Okay. And the CD9 was likely purposely changed, so likewise purposely changed, so it would be slightly above 50% Hispanic CVAP instead of being a coalition district now, right?
Again, because of Petaway, I'm hesitant to just generally use the words coalition district, since we just talked about how we use Petaway and our Supreme Court case. But
that's the whole reason we're here. The DOJ said we got to go dismantle coalition districts.
Mr. Turner, you and I have already talked. You keep saying we're here because of DOJ. I'm not saying that.
Well, the governor said that.
If the governor said that, I don't know.
Well, okay, Mr. Chairman, did you read the governor's special session proclamation?
Read it for us right here.
All right. Well, he has several things, as everybody knows.
What does it say in congressional?
But in terms of this subject matter, legislation that provides a revised congressional redistricting plan in light of constitutional concerns raised by the United States Department of Justice. The so-called constitutional concerns the DOJ raised is that
hold it
there
a
are
second, hold a second.
coalition districts.
We
in
don't
Texas.
agree, sir. You're trying
That's what
to.
it says.
I don't know. That's general language. It doesn't say anything but because they raised something. You're going straight to the letter. I'm not going to presuppose the governor that he looked through that letter and says those are the exact issues. You received, no, it doesn't. He says he got a letter. If you read the language, read it again. It doesn't say anything more than there was a letter.
No, it says light of constitutional concerns.
Okay.
And the letter
Okay.
alleges constitutional concerns because they allege that there were coalition districts that were drawn according to race, despite.
That's what the DOJ put in the letter?
Yes.
Great.
And
But
I'm-
what
and
is
I'm-
the
and I'm-
no,
I'm
you and
sure
I
you've
don't
read the letter,
agree.
Mr.
You're
Hunter.
trying to tie it, and I'm saying that's general. I'm not going to tie the governor to your question. We don't agree.
right.
It is exactly the Democrats are looking one way and the Republicans are shaking their head the other way. That's why we disagree on this bill.
All right. Well, I'm going to go back to my question. So just to we got a little off track, but with CD9, just to close the loop on that, it was also purposely changed so that the Hispanic CVAP would be over 50% now.
50.41%, correct.
Okay, thank you. So, is there any evidence or analysis that under the current map, because you've really leaned into this argument of we've increased the HCVAP in these districts and we've increased the black CVAP in these two districts, and that's a good thing about this map, based on what I heard of your explanation earlier today and your conversation with Mr. Wilson just now. Is there any evidence or analysis that shows under the current map that black voters in CD18 or CD30 are unable to elect the candidate of their choice under the current map?
The question was what?
Is there any evidence or data you have that would suggest that black voters in CD18 or CD30 are unable to elect the candidate of their choice
I don't have
under
any
the current
evidence.
configuration?
I don't have, you said, do I have evidence? I don't. I don't have any evidence.
Okay, all right. Similarly, is there any evidence or data that shows the Latino voters in the existing CD35 are unable to elect the candidates of their choice?
As I told you, I don't have any data or any evidence. But to me, at the very beginning, even though we talk about HVAP, and even though we talk about BVAP, and even though we have created 5 new districts, yes, political performances in them, but also I believe anybody can win these districts. And I've said that from the beginning. It's not a guarantee for anybody. And that's where I think we all have a disagreement among folks here.
Has Butler Snow conducted a racially polarized voting analysis within the new CD9 to ascertain who the candidates of choice are between with Hispanic voters and also with Anglo voters?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay. So we learned in the El Paso federal redistricting trial, or at least in discovery depositions leading up to the trial, that the Attorney General's office said they created a software program back in 2021 to do their own racially polarized voting analysis of any redistricting plans, and that all of the plans offered in 2021 were run through that software, including the plans you authored. So has the Attorney General's office analyzed this plan with that software for a racially polarized voting analysis?
I do not know if they have.
You haven't asked them to?
No, I haven't asked anybody on that.
Okay. What's the basis and evidence for purposely changing the racial makeup of districts to change them so that a single racial group constitutes the majority of the district's population?
I don't understand your question.
Well, okay, and you mentioned this in your layout this morning, that there's going to be now 8 districts with majority Hispanic CVAP. two
Okay.
districts
Got-
with a
gotcha.
majority black
Gotcha.
CVAP. You just
Yes,
discussed that with
we
Mr.
just did
Wilson
that.
again. So what is the basis and evidence for purposefully doing that?
Well, we used number one, again, partisan performance. And I'll keep saying that, and was open and upfront with everybody on that. And when they did the analysis to come up with the 5 seats, I'm sure what they did is they went into the raw data and developed all these based on that. But we heard from the public that 18 has a history. And as Dean Thompson knows, I have a history with 18. And we have a good history with 18. And we heard the concern about the configuration from Austin to San Antonio. And we also, even though I know both or different groups raised the issue of pack and crack, the other issue we heard from the public was the issue of configuration and compactness. And so I think all those variables were included. But specifically what they looked at, again, I don't know.
Okay. So in 2012, as discussed earlier when Congressman Vesey was here, 3-judge federal panel ordered the creation of Congressional District 33 to be a majority-minority district because they found that there was intentional discrimination in the plan adopted by the legislature in 2011. And I walked through the different iterations of those maps earlier with the congressman and gave you a copy of those maps for your reference. So in light of that record from the federal court in 2012, why does this map repeat that same mistake of splintering the minority communities in Tarrant County, specifically in Fort Worth?
And you're looking, and which, you're talking about specifically 33?
CD 33, yes.
Yeah, let me pull my note out. Okay, now, number one, under this plan, it remains still solidly Democrat plus 70%.
Right.
And it previously had a claw-like shape on the western side of the Metroplex, but now it takes east to take territory that had been in 32. Second, Petaway and Rucho were all decided afterwards. The law's changed since then. So you're taking me way back, but the law's changed quite a bit. And so I think in response to Mr. Spiller and Mr. Wilson, that you follow the updated case law. These maps follow the law. Plus, I get a question in my own head when it still remains solidly Democrat at plus 70%. That's pretty strong.
And you're talking about a district that has the number 33. But what I'm talking about is the people who live in Tarrant County who are no longer in 33, and they are splintered between multiple Anglo-dominated districts, just like the 2011 map did that was ruled unconstitutional.
But
So I'm talking about the voters, I'm talking about the residents, not the district number.
I understand what you're saying now. But what I'm saying is the law has changed since then. And you're trying to, what is it, 2011 you said?
Yes.
Taken 14 years ago, and yet I've just cited 2 new opinions. And I'm sure there's other case law that we would have to really see this may be the best thing in this particular bill.
Okay.
So I'm not sure that you can say everything that happened in 2011 is applicable in 2025.
And I appreciate that the law changes, precedent changes.
Sure.
I do appreciate that. But so your analysis of it is while it was illegal and unconstitutional in
I never-
2012.
You're
Well,
making
the
it.
the court held that. I'm not saying you agree with it. But
Look,
you would agree the court held that.
You're asking the old leading question, and I'm not familiar with the decision of the court, so I'm not going to say illegal or whatever. But
Well, I will
if you're
stipulate-
giving me that statement, I'm just saying our counsel is saying this meets the law today.
So you think it, under the law today, it is within the law to splinter those minority?
Well, you're calling it splinter. I'm saying we're using personal.
Cracking and packing.
You're calling it cracking and packing, and I'm calling it the U.S. Supreme Court Rucho, which basically says partisan gerrymander claims present political questions beyond the reach of the federal courts. And it also says even when Democrats or Republicans have tried to increase or eliminate Congress, that it's not the province of the court.
Sure.
And that political performance can be used.
And you're talking about partisan political gerrymandering, and I'm talking about racial gerrymandering. So there is a difference.
Well, no, I think if you look at Rucho, the issue of partisanship and political is all defined in there, and it can impact everything. We got to look at all of it.
So,
But I can't tell you what happened in 2011. I'm not personally aware of the specifics. So,
were you in the legislature in 2011?
oh yeah, I was.
Did you vote for the maps in 2011?
I'm sure I voted for them.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that I was involved in the court decisions and was relying on those lawyers that you all used back then, that you all didn't want to tell me, if I remember back then, all the specifics that the vice chair asked, because I remember there's a lot of questions. Where'd you get all that data? So that's what I remember.
Okay. So, and I promise this is only a question about Adam Kincaid, but Senator King is clearly identified. Okay. So Senator King has clearly identified Adam Kincaid as the map drawer. Do you have any reason to doubt Senator King on that?
Let me tell you something. I have no idea. I heard that he mentioned it, so I'm not here to say that he's right or wrong. I heard he made the mention. Representative, I don't know any details of his communication with Adam Kincaid.
Okay. Back on CD 29 briefly, or we didn't talk about CD 29, excuse me, on CD 29. So in that district, Hispanic CVAP was actually reduced by 20% to be less than 50%. Why is that?
Okay, on 29, Congressman Garcia's district.
Correct.
Let me see, the black CVAP went from 18.31 to 32.79. It was a plus 14.48. The Hispanic went from 63.53 to 43.12. It says it becomes more heavily Democrat again, plus 70%. It moves from a Hispanic majority CVAP to a non-Hispanic majority CVAP district, increasing black percentage. That's what it did. What data is the vice chair asked, I don't know.
Okay. So you don't view that district as a protected district under the Voting Rights Act, under the current configuration?
All I know is this district, they believe, complies with the law, and I will rely on that advice I've been given.
Okay. Last few questions. Our Representative Griffin Hawkins covered a couple of these. So you mentioned your meetings with Butler Snow this week. You said you met with them on Tuesday, and that was the very first time you met with them in this process, this special session?
No, I
in
think
leading up to this special session?
No, I think when I believe that I met with them prior to this week when they were going to be looked at as counsel for the called special session item. Didn't go through any of these details here. But yes, there was discussions with me and them that there was a special session and that congressional redistricting and that they would be included as counsel, but it was mainly general that. And then I do have discussions with them on the El Paso case because I'm technically have provided depositions in that case.
Okay. But Tuesday, this past Tuesday was the first substantive discussion, it sounds
I
like.
would say on
about-
specifics on maps.
Okay. All right. So when you met with them Tuesday, what direction did you give them in terms of the goal of the bill you wanted to file?
All I told them is if they've done the studying, get me and the chairman of the committee the information because he asked me to file the bill.
Okay. What were they studying?
I didn't give anybody direction.
What were they studying?
The congressional maps.
Okay. But you didn't give them any direction as to what your goal with the bill would be?
No, I didn't.
So
I made that clear.
So you wanted to file a bill on congressional redistricting?
Chris, you're taking this out. Now, come on. I've
Well,
told you
I'm
this
trying to
five.
understand,
No,
Mr. Chairman.
I think you're kind of repeating it 6 times. Look, just like your party does, you hire lawyers, and you ask them for information, and you file bills. I went and met with lawyers. The chairman asked me to carry this bill. I met with the lawyers. They showed me what the content of the bill was. I took the information with the chairman, and we filed it. And that's pretty clear.
So you weren't trying to accomplish anything with this bill. You just wanted to file a bill on congressional redistricting?
I'll answer you for the 7th time. The same answer, which is very simple. We have to do a congressional redistricting. A law firm was hired. They no doubt were doing work. The chairman of the committee asked me to file the bill. I agreed. I met with counsel. They showed me the data and what they think that they could be able to show in the data. I said, let's get it in bill form. And yes, the political performance was part of the bill. I've said that. It's the same process. There's nothing any more than that.
Okay, so that was on Tuesday. You filed the bill Wednesday morning early. So when did they actually draw the map?
I do not know.
You don't know?
No.
So was it?
The lawyers.
Do you think it was? Do you think it was last week
I mean,
or last
good
month
gosh.
or?
Everybody's making comments over here on the side, not showing much respect. But I will tell you this. Let's start questioning the Democrat lawyers. Because I've got a whole bunch of questions, and I can show you what they provided us. But it's the same thing. You're being provided. There's attorney-client privilege information. There's information they have. They provide you the background, the data, and the product. You turn it in bill form, and you push forward on the product that you file.
And when you met with them, you said you looked at a hard copy.
Yes.
Okay. Who? I know this was kind of covered earlier, but I don't think I heard an answer. I want to try to get to this. Who actually drew the map?
I do not know. I've told you that. I'm sure it was the law firm.
But like who? Like
That's
a
8
lawyer?
times. Thank you, Dean Thompson. 8 times.
A lawyer in the law firm?
The law firm prepared it. I don't know the specific person in the law firm.
But it was an employee of the law firm.
I don't know.
So it may not have been the law firm.
I don't know. It could be the law firm hiring a consultant. I told you all that earlier today.
Do you know who their consultants are?
No.
How much did we pay them?
Don't know.
Okay. And when you got the map, Mr. Moody asked you about this, but I know you didn't physically handle, they didn't give you something, I think you said that, but did they email it to your
No,
staff?
they gave me a hard copy. I told you that.
They gave you a hard copy.
I told you I looked at a hard copy,
I missed
just like
that.
this.
Yeah, and you took that with you. Okay.
Well, no, I left it there because it was being prepared. It hadn't been finalized.
Okay. So when the data was made available to Ledge Council to put into the Red Apple system, did they email that?
As I told Speaker Moody, I don't have personal knowledge on that. I worked with the chairman on getting the information to Ledge Council. I don't know how it was personally delivered.
I mean, did they send it to your staff?
I believe I worked with the chairman's office because we were just getting in town. So I can't remember if I specifically had it sent to him and we filed it that way. But that's how it was.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Hunter.
I'll get that for you.